This one should shake people up. Title of this one is Most Churches Can't Afford to Tell You the Truth. Man, I did, some videos on this about a year and a half ago, some very in-depth, you know, uh, videos on telling you how the church is a business. And today, man, tonight in this video, man, I want to drive some points home and get you to think about some particular things. Okay. And this should lead you down a rabbit hole, and you can get on Google and find a lot of this information for yourself. Man, let's say for instance, you were a young man and you went to Bible college. You went to the traditional route of, gaining your credentials of the world you need in world religion. And you said, okay, upon graduation, man, I want to start a church. I want to start, one of the major churches in my city. Now, paying for Bible college, your cost of living, where is this money coming from? Ask yourself that question, because you don't have a congregation at that point. You don't have people that are already coming weekly and you collecting what you call tithes and offering. Where's this money coming from? See, behind the scenes, in order to answer that question, you have to have a business model in order to secure money, in order to secure financing, a loan, in order to build it. And we're talking about to build a church, even your small church, your mom and pop church that holds maybe 50 people, has a couple offices on one side of it. Man, we're talking about 700,000 easy. And this has to be financed. This loan has to be backed. This loan has interest, that will be collected on it. So behind the scenes, there's a lot of stuff that has to be approved in underwriting. Man, how many seats are you going to have in here? Let me see your designs. What is your parking space going to look like? And they're going to make sure everything jives, because they don't want to give you $1 million loan and you got 25 parking spaces, but yet you got, 200 seats in there. They're not going to approve that. They want to make sure you got enough that makes logical sense for them giving you this, and you don't mess them up on their money. Okay. A lot of people don't know that majority of your Christian pastors, man, they are on salary. They're not going to tell you this. They might tell you it ain't none of your business, or go talk to such and such, but they're not going to tell you this. They're taking a salary. And the truth of the matter is, if they were to tell, like, I want you to think about on a Sunday, sun worshiping church, first day, Lord's Day, Resurrection Day, worshiping church. If your pastor came in there and said, hey, you take any one of these mega churches, you say, hey, man, I have researched the information in the Bible, and I have found out that the commandments say we're supposed to be keeping the seventh day. I found out how we're supposed to keep it. And then I realized the Messiah himself was a Sabbath keeper, as well as the disciples, the apostles. They were a seventh day Sabbath keepers. They weren't Lord's Day, Resurrection Day keepers. Man, if you told the congregation that and then said next Sunday, we're no longer having service, but we will do a Sabbath service in the morning on Saturday, your church would be in foreclosure. Man, there's a guy, a channel by the name of Bear Independent. And, he did an interview a while back when he was talking about one of his churches going from Sunday sun worship to being Torah observers, actually keeping the commandments. And how many people rejected the truth for keeping a day that made them comfortable. Right now, man, a lot of these churches are flying, these rainbow flags out there, and they're giving ear ticklish messages to the rainbow community. And you would say, man, why would they do this? Okay, well, those people of that community are W-2 earners. So why not sell them a message that can make them give us their money willfully while we tickle their ears? Man, your pastor doesn't, like, a lot of these topics, the reason Christian pastors won't debate them, it's the simple fact that they know what's in the book, but it's not about them telling people the truth. It's about getting people to believe a lie that makes them feel good. That's what it's about. Man, your church would be in foreclosure. Man, I remember sitting in these churches and they would be talking about, they would go into financial parts of the service and they would be talking about building funds and pouring out to the people. And I want to tell you, a lot of these pastors, you would think, oh man, he's been the lead pastor. They're not coming up with this money on their own. Just like they're taking out a loan for a car, just like they're taking out a loan for a house, man, they're taking out loans for these churches. Now, Proverbs 22:7 says, the rich rules over the poor. The borrower is a servant to the lender, or a slave to the lender. So why would so-called religious people, or a pastor that wants people to believe that he's a commandment keeper, why would he put himself in a position to where the truth is now compromised in order to have a payment to be able to pay his salary as well as the mortgage? Man, oftentimes when you have a pastor that just abruptly leaves out of nowhere, man, what you're dealing with is, okay, man, potentially they weren't willing to increase his salary based upon the seat attendance increase. You mean this behind the scenes? This is what kind of stuff goes on. You mean to tell me, man, I've gotten over the course of the year, man, I've taken our tithes and offerings with these ear ticklish messages. I've increased it, and we've seen a $50,000 to $100,000 increase, and you won't up my paycheck or my salary by $10,000? This is why you have a lot of pastors that are, leaving these churches abruptly. Same thing with your choir director, especially these churches that's got some of these traveling band. No, these is paid positions. This is a business. Now, you may look at this and say, man, it's a 501c. It's tax exempt. Yeah, that's so they don't pay taxes on the money they collect from you. But there is interest being accrued on these loans. Man, if your church says, man, we're doing a church building fund and we need to collect $100,000 and that's our goal, you don't even realize what's happening is, man, they're already securing financing, financing for the construction of the new loan for the new building. But that $100,000 is going to go towards furnishing, towards things not covered in the, construction. So they have to, okay, where are we going to get these chairs from? Where are we going to get this projector, this digital system, this music equipment? And oftentimes that's what your money is going towards. Man, I want you to understand, if for 1 month straight or 2 months straight, everybody went to Sunday Sun worship and didn't give a dime, man, your churches would be in foreclosure. Right now, man, they are collecting what they tell you, what they deceive you into thinking are tithes. Man, they are collecting tithes and offerings Wednesday night. Okay. If they do a Friday or Thursday Bible study, they're collecting another, sending that plate around again. Most churches have 2 services in the morning. They're collecting then too. Then they do another one Sunday night. They're collecting again. You think about, man, nowhere in the Bible are we told or instructed to keep such a holiday called Christmas. Why does the church put on such a festive Christmas event if it's unbiblical and not commanded? Well, it draws out a crowd. If they can get people in there to believe something that ain't in the book because they're too ignorant to go read and find out for themselves, they can pass that offering plate around and get people. They already know you're spending money on gifts and all of this stuff if you keep those holidays. So why not? We might as well get a little piece of the pie. And what do they do with some of that money? Some of the paid positions, man, they're getting bonuses. This is what goes on behind the scenes. Man, there was at one point where I met with a pastor, and I was going to go down the traditional route, of ministry, trying to open up a church and things like that, until I found out how much of the church, it's a business. It is a business. Just like you would secure a loan for a business or take out a line of credit, they're doing the same thing. This is why your pastor cannot tell you the truth. This is why he cannot read the things in the Torah and teach according to the Torah, because people don't want to pay to hear that. You mean to tell me they've got this book and can read it for themselves and are going to pay you to hear something that convicts their flesh, to live righteous and points out their error, their transgression? People ain't paying for that. This is why you don't hear weighty matters of the law of the Torah taught in the Bible. The book says, to the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, it's because there's no light in them. What do most of your Sunday sun worship pastors want to teach? The testimony. They're not teaching you, okay, what are we repenting for? What are we turning from? If you're turning from your sin, what is the sin? This is the reason why they don't talk and push on this, the weightiness of it. This is why they don't do it, because, man, their church will be in foreclosure. Ask yourself, man, if you live in a decent sized town, man, there's some streets that may be less than 5 miles long, and you've got 10 churches on a 5-mile stretch. Wait a minute. Aren't they all supposed to be giving the truth? One says apostolic, other one says Church of God in Christ, other one is non-denomination, other one is Pentecostal, other one is Baptist. Wait a minute, hold on. See, these are just businesses. It's go where you feel like you fit in and what message is tickling your ears, and we'll go with that one. So they mix a little bit of book with a little bit of deception, a little bit of witchcraft, and you don't even realize it. Why? Because you've never studied to show yourself approved. You don't even know what study is. You think reading the Bible is the same thing as studying, and they've got two different meanings, two different etymologies, but most people don't want to hear the truth. So where they don't want to hear the truth, man, the people will pay an astronomical amount of money if you sit up and tell them, repeat after me, and you can go to heaven and continue living the foul way you living. People will pay. People will come out of that pocketbook out the woodworks for that. But people clench their purse, people clench their wallet, they'll get up and walk out the minute you start teaching the truth. This is why, your church cannot afford to tell you the truth. Closer to y'all ministries, kicking it gun barrel straight. Wow.